This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Ladies, we have to talk. Our men are leaving, they truly are. We've pushed too far, we asked too much of them, and now they are leaving. The best of them... the best of them are leaving. So who's going to provide for us? Because I don't want to work. Who's going to build buildings and bridges to go from one place to another? Who's going to lift us up when we faint? Because it happens all the time. Who's going to go to war? Not the soy boys, not me. Ladies, our men, real men, build this nation, and we complain about having to clean the kitchen and period pains. Like, what is wrong with us? I want to say to the men watching this, we need you. Please stay. Bonjour, my name is Alice, welcome back to my channel. Let me just start by saying that no, Western women aren't afraid of lame dudes leaving to find traditional women abroad. That's what passport bros are. I mean, seriously, what motivates you to leave your country, your friends, your family? Is that you're too scared of independent women? You want someone who is dependent on you and serve you like your mom? You want a second mom, Joey? I mean, grow up, goddammit. I wish I could say, please do go away, but it also annoys me to think that foreign women will potentially have to deal with these dudes, you know, the Myron Gaines type from Fashion Fit, who also threatened once to go find a woman abroad. I thought I had to say that because as I was researching for this video, I kept on hearing the same argument, you know, like Western women are scared, men are gonna fly away to different countries and just leave them all alone. And to be honest, I'd rather stay single with a bunch of cats than having to date someone like Myron Gaines, but that's not the topic of the video. Anyway, let's talk about the serious stuff. Passport bros are at the intersection of various phenomena. The first one is the digital nomad movement, which grew thanks to the development of the internet, the World Wide Web. Being a digital nomad means that you have built a business online that allows you to travel the world, to live abroad, and eventually pay lower taxes or outsource some of your work. The trend was born with the release of Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Workweek. It's a book that explained how to go from scratch, really, how to build your business online and how to eventually enjoy life in cheap, warm countries with all the money you've made. Part of the appeal of the Passport Bros trend is exactly that. They showcase a world that looks like non-stop holiday while you are stuck at uni or working a boring 9-to-5 job. So that's the first element I see. The second element is obviously the traditional wife aspect. Passport bros claim that they are fed up with picky, demanding Western women, that feminism has corrupted them, that they want the cake, so a provider, and eat it, so not be submissive. Now, it is true that there is a very long history of Western men going to foreign countries like Colombia, the Philippines, or former colonies to have sex, date, or marry a foreign woman. Those men took advantage of their privilege, their power as Westerners to appear more attractive to foreign women who were taught to see them as the colonizer, therefore as a figure of power, authority, someone who is inherently superior to her. To marry a Westerner was a form of social climbing because it was prestigious, because it meant stability. On the other hand, some Western men reported finding foreign women more attractive for various reasons. Famous French actor Vincent Cassel once said in an interview in 2011 that he was in his jungle fever era. He was only attracted by, quote, black or mixed race women. Then he says, I was specialized in Asian women and then Parisian Arab women. And he adds as a sort of self-reflection that he realized that when you're too specific, you don't really care about the person. Wise words, Vincent. Can we call that progress? Famous French singer Serge Gainsbourg, who was known for dating very young, docile, attractive women like Jane Birkin and Caroline von Paulus, half Vietnamese, half Chinese, who he nicknamed Bamboo, and he also encouraged her to make her own album titled Made in China. In case you didn't know, France occupied Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia until 1954, and there was this sort of weird fascination with Asian women, often described as dolls. In Lotus, Madame Chrysanthème, published in the early 20th century, a marine soldier arrives in Nagasaki and hopes to, like his friends, find a Japanese woman for a temporary marriage. He says, as soon as I'll arrive there, I'll marry. Yes, with a small yellow-skinned woman, with dark hair and cat eyes. I'll make sure she's pretty, she won't be taller than a doll. He then continues explaining that he'd treat her like a children, like a toy, blah blah blah. It's also important to remember that during the 20th century, 85% of American soldiers who were located in Japan after the Second World War said that they had met with local sex workers. Bear in mind, it also happened in the Philippines, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Singapore. So their first experience was based on her being a sex object and him being the almighty Westerner. Still today, Westerners find ways to connect with Asian women abroad. As you can see in this video where the guy says that he's been writing to hundreds of Asian women in the past 5 years and has a collection of pictures of them, he says, quote, "There seems to be an endless supply of women over there." It is undeniable that passport bros are part of that very long history. Sure, women in former colonies have gained greater access to education, to financial independence, which makes them less prey to lame Western boys, but that colonial history, the power dynamics it has created in terms of economic status, the value put on whiteness as well, are still very present, as anthropologist Marion Botero showed in an article on the Thai women fantasy and the crisis of masculinity in the West. I mean, it'd be foolish to believe that because colonialism ended in Asia and Africa in the 20th century, that then all of a sudden the relationships of power that had been instilled in both the colonizer and the colonized for centuries disappeared like that. We know that being a Westerner, being white, means being privileged, and with privilege comes responsibility, a sense of awareness of one's position in the world. Now that this has been said, I would like to look at the impact of passport bros on Western feminism. Maybe you've heard about this book, Backlash. It was written by Suzanne Faludi, a journalist, and it was published in 1991. In it, Faludi looked at all the strategies used by right-wingers as well as mainstream media to counter the advances of feminism in the 1980s, so late second-wave feminism, early third wave in the US. Side note, but I was very much inspired by this book when I wrote my book, which is coming out at the end of the year, because the backlash she describes in it is very similar to the post-MeToo backlash that we're living through at the moment. And part of that backlash includes the discourse, the manufactured outrage around the passport bros trend. When you think about it, very few people can afford to be a passport bro. You need to have a remote job that is compatible with living on the other side of the world. You must leave everything behind you, your family, your friends, to end up in a culture that you probably barely know or don't know at all, or a place where you probably barely speak the language. Very few people can do that, and very few people actually do that. I remember when I was watching a lot of self-help many years ago, I was struck by the number of hustle bros who would go back to the US after spending a year or two in exotic countries because the culture shock was too intense. They could not handle it. What is interesting with the passport bros is the discussions it triggers in the West. Men of the men's movement have used this opportunity to tell Western women to be careful because men are leaving to find decent wives abroad. That message was then relegated by other right-wing and self-proclaimed apolitical channels on YouTube. Those people, channels, use the outrageous nature of that trend to push an anti-feminist agenda. In Backlash, Faludi talks about the pressure put on women to marry young and forge a family. She tells about the Newsweek story that declared that single, 40 years old, college-educated white women are more likely to be killed by a terrorist than to marry. That line was then repeated in women's magazines, in talk shows, in advice books, the same way the, quote, "men are leaving to find wives abroad," circulated on social media. But when it was time to figure out where the terrorist story actually came from, a former Newsweek bureau intern explained that it started as a joke. It has no scientific background, but somehow someone took it seriously and it ended up on print. It is interesting to see that the article specifically targeted college-educated white women because they were the feminists that were most represented on TV at the time. They were and still are to some degree what people think of when we talk about feminists. So you see how it seeks to instill that fear in women. Like, don't become like the feminists you see on TV, otherwise you'll end up alone and lonely and ugly. I add ugly because back then it was also said that career women could easily develop adult acne. And you know, we regularly see people make fun of feminists, like recently Emma Watson saying that feminism ages you. I'm not going to list all the things we say to diminish feminists as individuals, but you get the idea. I mean, the backlash is efficient because it hits where it hurts. It seeks to put you back in your place, a place the patriarchal society we live in has determined was going to be yours. But if you are a feminist like me, you are working on changing the way we envision human relationships, sexuality, the family. you're shaking the foundations of a centuries-long tradition called patriarchy. And that is tough. But it's also so rewarding to be part of this project, to see the progressive dismantlement of something that has caused so much damage across the gender spectrum, across ethnicities, across social classes to various degrees, obviously. I'm not going to pretend that those threats have never affected me. They did in the past. They prevented me from fully embracing feminism. The one that was super triggering for me during high school was the, quote, "you'll end up alone with cats." A female friend of mine kept saying it to me because I wasn't really interested in dating at the time, and then my first boyfriends reinforced that fear of ending up alone for the rest of my life because they were obsessed with it themselves. They wanted to find their one and only, they lived happily ever after, as soon as possible, and transferred that fear onto me. From then on, it became an obsession to also find that right person, even though I had never cared about that in the past. I was more than happy by myself. It took me a lot of time to sort of get away from that. I need to find someone because I need to fulfill societal expectations. I need to marry in 5 years and have kids in 10 years and blah blah blah. Once I accomplished that, I was able to approach dating in a much healthier, less stressful way, lower the pressure and go with the flow, respect each other's desires and vision, and see where it brings us. All of that to say that if you personally feel threatened by the passport bros trends, by the mockery directed at feminists, the cats and everything, know that if you've made it that far in the video, you are a certified smart hottie. You've earned your diploma. And the second thing is that we will win! Those lame dudes' weapon is fair, but we are armed with love, girlies. Love, passion, anger, that's all you need to move mountains, actually. It has worked in the past, that's why they're so scared. So don't let them get in the way, let's all have a good laugh. And also let's pray for the women, our sisters abroad, who are going to have to deal with those dudes. And finally, let's keep fighting for a better, equal world with a lot of cats, dogs as well, dogs are cute. And cows, we love cows in the video essays on YouTube, as you all know. Just a bunch of animals running around freely, That's the world we feminists want to live in and will make it happen. By the way, it's a joke, obviously. I can already see people clipping out that portion and being like, this is modern day feminism, see? These women are degenerates. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, the conversation continues in the comments section. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, if it's not already done. Big thank you to my patrons, and a special thank to top tier patrons Trébizon, Toki, Corigi, Tristan, Patricia, Marcelo, Christopher, Ian, Donage, Alex, Ren, Sam, Manuel, Dakota, Jay, Benjamin, Carla, and Perry. Before I leave, I need to talk to you about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. You can create your own website around your preferred aesthetic from a catalog of templates and use it as a landing platform for all the activity you do. YouTube, online shop, blog, podcast, photography, etc. Once that is set up, you can connect all your social media accounts and share content between different platforms. Squarespace can also help you create effective email campaigns to really connect with your community. Finally, they have this very cool feature where you can connect and learn from other creators like Adrien Raquel, who will show you how you can best use the platform. If you feel like Squarespace is made for you and you want to check it out, go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you've experimented and you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AliceCapelle to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring the video, and yeah, that's it. I'll see you very soon. I want to say to the men watching this, we need you. Please stay. Bye-bye.
Top. Tip top.